The Chicago Bears have set their top 30 visits with 2 prospects set to go in the top 10. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how the second top 30 visit really kind of indicates that the Chicago Bears may very well hold on to that number 9 overall pick. We're going to get to all that plus a little bit of the mailbag because Barry's back. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize. More importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content. And so, Ryan Poles announced that Caleb Williams will complete his top 30 visit with the Chicago Bears next week in early April. So that's going to be kind of the last step. I know you kind of hear every step as the last step for the Chicago Bears. That's when the final checks are going to be done. The Bears are going to put Caleb Williams through an entire medical evaluation. With that said, assuming that there are no red flags or anything like that, at the end of the day, Caleb Williams is probably set to be a Chicago Bear. Now, I know some Bears fans still have their doubts. That's understandable. And those doubts won't be cleared up until Caleb Williams gets on the field for the Chicago Bears, right? That's not, and even then, they may not completely be cleared up even in this first season. And while, there are a lot of expectations around the Chicago Bears team, which again, as me, C-Dub, and Bobby have talked about, expectations for the team are different from expectations just on Caleb Williams, right? He's going to go through his thing with rookies. I've seen a lot of people say, well, he has to come in, he has to be C.J. Stroud right away. That's unrealistic. I get what you guys are saying in that, and I know the hype around Caleb Williams, but quarterbacks have to go through their own development. Now, it's not unlikely. We can't say that it may not be possible that Caleb Williams comes in and has maybe a C.J. Stroud type season. The Bears have set him up for success to do that if that's what he's going to be. But, I try to always, maybe sometimes I try to be too logical, right? I understand the passion from this Bears fan base. I understand the discontent as well from the Bears fan base, considering how Justin Fields was done. But we are now moved on. This is the phase of the Chicago Bears. When Caleb Williams, however you look at it, is drafted by the Chicago Bears, he is now the Chicago Bears quarterback. And I don't get for anybody, and that's with any team in any sport, to root for somebody to fail just so you can be right. It's weird, right? It's weird. It was weird when people did it with Justin. It's weird if people do it with Caleb Williams. It's weird for me, for anybody to be on the team that you support, the team that you love, the team that you claim you're a diehard. Now, die-easy fans or bandwagon fans, those guys are different, right? But to be a diehard Bears fan and to me to wish bad on anybody who's drafted and developing on your team, that's just odd to me, man. And, that's not to get on a high horse. Everybody can have their rights, their own opinions, their own view of this entire situation. And like I said, you don't have to wash away your discontent with how Justin Fields was done to embrace a new quarterback. Two things can be true at the same time. And I think we live in such a polarizing time period where you have to be fully on one side or fully on the other, where the truth can be is that you can feel a way on both things, right? Like, you guys know I was very vocal. I was somebody who would have loved to see Justin Fields get a chance with what the changes they made to this offense were. Would have loved to see it. But because it didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, I'm not going to sit there and root against Caleb Williams. I want to see Caleb Williams, if he's going to be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, and that's for any Bears quarterback for that matter, I want to see them thrive and to be the best that they can be. That's just what I want to see. That's what this franchise deserves. That's what the fan base wants, and that's what we all deserve as Bears fans, is to just have the best team possible. And so Ryan Poles has done an excellent job at really revamping this offense and getting Caleb Williams the most weapons possible. You could say some of the most versatile and deep weapons we've had for the Chicago Bears, maybe ever, especially depending on what the Bears do with that number 9 pick, which we'll talk about here in a second. But, that's what it comes down to. And for what it's worth, Ryan Poles finally did his first public kind of speaking thing after the Justin Fields trade. He said this: probably one of the harder things I've had to do. I've always kind of touched on the empathy part. Having that conversation with my own son was hard. Fields' jersey's up in his room, so it kind of puts into perspective how difficult those moves are. And then when talking about Caleb Williams, says he's intentional with his leadership. Same goes with the staff. I'm having a hard time finding a person that doesn't like him or even love him and thinks he can reach the highest limits. The feedback's been good. And so when it comes down to it, listen, I get it. Ryan Poles even saying this, it wasn't just Justin versus one of these rookies. It's really the timeline and how much runway you have. So basically, Ryan Poles looking at the long term of this, right? In that and this is something that I've said before, he looked at the long term benefit of one of these rookie quarterbacks being better than what he saw long term with Justin Fields. Does the contract play a part into that? Yeah. Does development play a part into that? Yeah. Is he going to be right ultimately with that? That remains to be seen. But, this wasn't an easy decision. And I think even, the people that complain about, you did wrong by Justin. You only got a 6th-round pick. What you get back for Justin doesn't make it a better situation for him or not, right? That doesn't mean that you did more right by him if you got a higher pick, right? You put Justin in a situation where he can learn behind somebody, and some people even expect that Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers before the end of the season. So, that's something to all be said and look down at it. But like I said before, for me personally and how I'm going to view it, how I'm going to handle this is it's all about the Bears being in the right situation and making the right decision. And as much as I have my own personal feelings, my own personal thoughts, we won't fully know 100% if this was the right decision by Ryan Poles for the Chicago Bears, even in this first year. This is a long-term play, and we'll see what that ends up turning into, man. But yeah, the Bears have made a lot of really good deals this season. I love the way that they've really revamped this offense for Shane Waldron. We're going to talk about another top 30 visit, but one of those pieces that we got back in the trade was Keenan Allen, and it's gotten a little testy with Keenan Allen and the Chargers a little bit since then. The general manager of the Chargers, Joe Hortz, talked about the negotiations with Keenan Allen leading up to the deal, and said there were multiple contract offers on the table. When it comes down to it, it's a little bit of shade going down. Everybody kind of wants to save face where they can. Him saying that they offered Keenan Allen multiple contract options to do with. I mean, that's not too different than what we've heard, right? They wanted to reshape Keenan Allen's contract when it didn't come down to it, regardless if he accepted those options or not. He decided that the best thing wasn't for to move on for both parties. He now moves into a situation. Jim Harbaugh has made little comments here and there too. But at the end of the day, Keenan Allen is now a Chicago Bear. He's already made the steps to kind of warm up towards Caleb Williams and, being at his pro day, things like that. That's what you want to see, build that camaraderie of a new team. And they're going to have Shane Waldron, who runs a very similar system to what the Chargers do. And he's going to know how to maximize Keenan Allen. We got him for a 4th-round pick. That's a hell of a value, if you ask me. So, it is what it is. Keenan Allen's agent, for what it's worth, said, to be clear, only one offer was made. It was a pay cut for the 2024 with a 2-year extension, and both years had even deeper cuts to his current pay. We made a counteroffer. It was rejected. Then we were informed of the Chargers' intention to trade Keenan Allen. So that's both sides of the story. I don't care because it ended up in a better situation for the Chicago Bears. I don't care what the offer was. I don't care if it was a good offer. I don't care if it was a bad offer. He's here now. Let's try to get an extension done here. Stay here in Chicago with our developing quarterback, with our developing offense as well. Let's hit the ground running and see what the Chicago Bears team is really going to be, not only in this first year, but going forward. And I love that the odds makers right now have the Chicago Bears having a better chance to make the playoffs than not, because that's the improvement that we've made on this team. The people who say one of the things of, well, you got the expectations for Fields versus Caleb. It's not just about that. It's about the place that this team is right now. This team, with the defense, with the moves that they've made, they've put themselves in a situation to truly contend at the very least for a wild card spot. And that's what the Chicago Bears need to be doing, in my opinion, next year. And one of the things that's going to help the Bears with that is what they do at number 9. They've also set up a top 30 visit with tight end Brock Bowers. Now, this is kind of unexpected by me. I was asked on the mailbag not too long ago, I think it was actually Darius, could the Bears draft Brock Bowers, at number 9? And I kind of said, well, would they really have 3 tight ends on the roster, right? Was that what they would go to, considering the wide receivers that are there, things like that? But, it kind of makes sense in a way, right? Shane Waldron is not opposed to using a tight end in a slot position, so to say. And considering the Bears don't have a number 3 wideout right now, and Shane Waldron does like going to a multiple tight end set, do not be surprised if the Bears are to draft a Brock Bowers, right, to get all his medicals. They're going to put him through the same medical evaluation that we just talked about with Caleb Williams. If they move into that direction and they draft a Brock Bowers, it's still a big if, right? We'll talk about some of the options and what some of the mock drafts have the Bears doing right now. But to use a tight end kind of as a pseudo slot receiver would add a lot of versatility, especially to that blocking portion of the game as well. So there's a chance of that happening, and that's what the creativity of Shane Waldron is, right? If all the wide receivers are off the board, which right now a lot of mocks have the quarterbacks going all at the top 4 picks, wide receivers can follow all 3 after that. But if Brock Bowers is there at number 9 and the Bears do take him, best believe they may use him as a pseudo slot receiver in that, my friends, using a 6'3", 243-pound tight end who had over 714 yards receiving last year, and almost 3,000 yards over his 3 years in collegiate football. That would be a very interesting way, not only in the passing game, but in running situations when you have that slot receiver out there as well. So the Bears could be looking at making the offense even more versatile than what we've seen Shane Waldron do before. So that kind of puts it back on the boards that the Bears could go after a tight end, and them doing a top 30 visit means that there is a serious amount of interest there. That's not just to keep maintain potential flexibility with trading that number 9 overall pick. That's a little bit deeper than there. So we'll see what the Bears do. Right now, when you look at kind of around the league, what a lot of the mock drafts have the Bears doing at number 9. We'll go to NFL.com first. NFL.com have the Bears drafting Rome Odunze from Washington. This is a guy who, again, we talked about before. To me, it'd be hard to pass up on Rome if he's there at number 9. This is a guy who has tremendous upside as a number 1 wide receiver at the NFL level. While, yes, we have Keenan Allen and we have DJ Moore. Keenan Allen, a little bit long in the tooth. DJ Moore is a free agent in 2 years, and you don't want to just assume that he's gonna re-sign here. That's some insurance policy in both cases of those guys. You could develop him as a slot receiver now with the ability to take over as the number 2 or number 1 wide out eventually. ESPN at number 9 has the Bears going Jared Verse. Now, that's where it gets, because Jared Verse, while I love Jared Verse, you guys know I've talked about him a whole hell of a lot. If he's the player that's left there at 9, I do think that the Bears do have some trade back possibilities if they can drop to maybe 12, 13, somewhere in that range and still get Jared Verse or Liatu Latu as well, who's players that can definitely help the Chicago Bears a lot. So if it comes to Jared Verse, I don't know if I see them taking him at number 9. That just could be a little bit of a reach unless the Bears just evaluate him that high, which is a potential. The Athletic in their mock draft have them going Dallas Turner at number 9. Now that kind of makes more sense. Dallas Turner in a lot of mocks is projected to go well within the top 10. So that would be a pick that kind of falls on track there. But as I've said before, with edge, to me, you can still get a quality edge. Jared Verse is a little bit above those guys for sure, but you can still get a quality edge by trading down. To me, if the Bears are going to stay at number 9 and use that pick, it's either going to be Joe Alt, it's going to be Rome Odunze. Now kind of this Brock Bowers thing with kind of using him as a pseudo slot receiver may be an option there. But again, could be very wrong on that one. And then CBS Sports have the Bears also going Rome. We just talked about him. That makes a lot of sense for shoring up that wide receiver position long-term with a wide receiver that can grow with Justin Fields as well. And then you got Pro Football Focus, who actually has the Bears getting Malik Neighbors there at number 9. And here's the thing I'm going to tell you right now. If Malik Neighbors is the one that falls at number 9 and the Bears trade out of that pick, you better be getting a damn haul back is what I'm telling you right now, because I haven't really thought about Malik Neighbors being the one that could fall there because I just assume he's going to be the second wide receiver to go off the board after Marvin Harrison Jr. If you listen to some mocks as well, they actually also say that maybe he can even go before Marvin Harrison Jr. Don't know how much I quite believe that, right? But the fact that there's rumors going around that the Arizona Cardinals could trade down from number 4 for one of those teams that do want to draft a quarterback at number 4 could open the door for a Malik Neighbors or somebody to fall to the Arizona Cardinals, depending on how far they go down. That absolutely is options as well for the Chicago Bears. And then the last one we're going to talk about, Yahoo Sports also have the Bears drafting Rome Odunze at number 9. And so that's you'll look at that. Olu Fashanu is somebody as well that Fox Sports has the Bears drafting at number 9. I think that's a trade down scenario in my opinion, but it's not done yet. So the Bears have a lot of options. I think Joe Alt, Rome, those guys fall. Now maybe Brock Bowers falls. To me, you got to really look and consider drafting those guys at number 9. I get it. I understand why everybody says trade down. We need more picks. Like I said, I think we're kind of trained to look at that as we just need a bunch of picks in the draft. That's not necessarily reality, and that's not necessarily what Ryan Poles may look to do depending on how he evaluates that talent. So we'll see what happens there. But before we go, you guys know I've been trying to play voicemails on every episode, at least 1 or 2, just because you guys have been going off, especially since, the Justin Fields trades and all the moves. All seasons have been fun. But we got one of the guys that I'm most excited about returning back, and that's Barry. Let's go ahead and play that now.
Fellas, it's Barry. Listen, fellas, I'm big. Okay, my dog had some health issues, so I had to take some time off. But fellas, are we not feeling fantastic about the future of the Chicago Bears? We're gonna get Caleb Williams, fellas. There was a time I was against it way back, but listen, I'm embracing it. He's a special quarterback. We got DeAndre Swift in the backfield to pair with Herbert and Johnson. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that we have Keenan Allen to pair with DJ Moore? Oh, what's that, man coverage? Here's DJ Moore for you. Oh, Keenan Allen against Stone? I'll find you soft spot. I'll slice and dice your ass, fellas. How about a little Gerald Everett for your ass, along with Cole Kmet? Fellas, we are cooking on this team. And defense. Montez Sweat rolling into year 2 with the team. Gervon Dexter came on strong last season. We got Edmonds. We got Edwards. The law office of Edmonds and Edwards, by the way. That's what they're going by. The secondary's come to life, fellas. We got Eddie Jackson, the ghost of Eddie Jackson out there, and replaced with another veteran playing at a high level, Kevin Byard. Fellas, we are looking good out there. Oh, and by the way, all-pro Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson coming along. Not Kindle Builder. Oh, my goodness, fellas. Kyler Gordon hitting his stride. Fellas, oh, and by the way, did I mention that we got the number 9 overall pick? Fellas, we are cooking with gas. We are going to be just fine, all right? So all these fighting among Bears fans, we got to stop it and rally, fellas. We're going to be whooping ass come September. I mean it this time. All right, Barry out.
I agree 120% with Barry. The future of the Bears is bright. And while I get it, it's disappointing for a lot of people who had their thoughts wrapped up in, I just want to see this specific outcome. That outcome isn't coming, especially if it was built around Justin Fields. I get it, right? I understand the unhappiness with that if that's just what you had your mind set on doing. But the Bears have set this up in a way to where we're going to have a solid team regardless. We're going to have one of the better teams that we fielded. And I don't understand the people that say like, oh, well, just because we got a rookie quarterback, that means we're going to get 6 or 7 wins. No, this team, overall, the talent level on this team is so much better than that. Now, things can go left. We know that we also have a team that at times has been very injury prone. You want to see those players stay healthy, especially that offensive line. If we have another season where the offensive line just can't stay healthy, it's going to be another difficult watch, right? I think we all know and can kind of understand that. But outside of those things which aren't in the control of the team, what they've done now with what's in their control, they've built a great offense. When you look at this, right? DJ Moore, who is going to have fewer targets than what he did last year, but could absolutely be prioritized in that because, again, he's going to spread the ball out a lot. Him, Keenan Allen being targets, right? Those things are going to happen. They're going to have probably less targets than what they had before, but that doesn't mean that the refinement, the reception skills numbers still can't be there as well. So you look at what Shane Waldron has done with his wide receivers before, number 1, number 2, those things slate to be really good in the way they're used. Cole Kmet is going to be used even more with his record season that he had. He had a career best year last year. Now having Shane Waldron in the way that he uses tight ends, that's going to be amazing. You look at our backfield now, that workload is going to be spreaded out. We led the league, I think, in rushing yards from a QB the last 2 years. If I'm not mistaken, we were probably top. But now you have Swift there. You got Khalil Herbert there. You got Roschon Johnson there. They're going to split that backfield. Yeah, Swift is probably going to get the majority of the snaps there, but you've added so many weapons to that for sure as well. And so I think that's going to be really good. And when you look overall at the offense and what they do between the ground and the run game, I think we're going to be really good in there. And then if Caleb is anything that he's shaped up to be, he lives up to even 70% of the hype in year 1, it's going to be a really fun season to watch. And so I get it that some Bears fans are unhappy with what happened this year because it wasn't what they wanted to see, or even just the fact that the Bears didn't go after the big names on the market, right? But you look at what we brought back and added to that defense that's already been on its way up. We have the best young secondary in the NFL, period. But a defensive line that, even though it doesn't have the biggest names, look at how they performed over those last 7 games of the season, right? That it leaves a lot to be desired, and that's without hoping that Gervon Dexter makes a leap or we get another edge in this draft as well. The Bears' future is looking bright, and I think, for one, we need to embrace it. Again, I can't tell you guys how to feel. It's your team just as much as it's mine, but I think that Bears fans are going to be surprised and overall happy with the product that we're putting out there on the court, and on the field, and I completely agree with what Barry's whole thought process is here. We are looking up. Things are looking up in Chicago. And I think that that's the biggest thing that we want. Also, like, the stadium's going to end up staying downtown. Those type of things are all coming to fruition. We're setting a great stage here. And we're building a good product here, and one that looks like it's going to be sustainable. That's the biggest thing in this also, is that we're building something that really does seem sustainable in the way that we've gone and organically built it. So let's see how it's going to continue to play out, man. And let's hope that this time next year we're talking about the Bears having their first playoff appearance in a few years, and we'll get to talk about how now we can continue to build off that so we can go from, at that point, a playoff team to hopefully going into the realm of being one of the contenders around the NFC. Let's hope that that's the place that we can get into. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the channel at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.